He was the man who made Harry Potter fly. David Holmes is best known as the lead stunt double for Daniel Radcliffe in the Harry Potter films. He brought magic to life through breathtaking stunts and fearless performances. But David's journey didn't stop there. After a life-changing accident, he turned his resilience and creativity into a new chapter, becoming the subject of the powerful HBO documentary, The Boy Who Lived, and now sharing his story even further with his brand new book. David's life is not just about Hollywood magic, it's about courage, reinvention, and inspiring millions around the world. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on your platform.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I've been kind of hounding you for a few months on social media to try and get you on here, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we got there. Sorry, I've been a very busy boy since the documentary and since my book as well. It's been pretty intense, and I've got lots of other projects on the go at the moment as well.
Yeah, I guess just to start too, for the people that aren't aware, like you say, you have an HBO documentary and you have a book. They're both called The Boy Who Lived.
You got it, yeah.
And that's actually kind of taken right from Harry Potter.
That's the first chapter of the first book, and I had to write a letter to the chief herself, Jo, to see if she'd give me permission for the title. So, and she did, bless her.
You said that was J.K. Rowling?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I guess just to start, how did you get into stunt work originally? I know you touch on it in the movie and the book, but for the people that haven't seen it, how did you get into it? It's such a crazy world. And, I'm assuming people that are listening, you have the accent. Where are you from? Are you from the UK?
Yeah, so I grew up just in the outskirts of London in a town called Romford. And I was one of three brothers. Me and my two brothers were full of energy and very slight in stature, very small. My mum found the perfect sport, which not only combined like getting rid of our bundles of energy, but also it was the perfect childcare as well, which was gymnastics. And then I grew up in the sport of gymnastics. I ended up competing like in national competitions and stuff, and was in like an elite squad at my gymnastics centre, and then moved to another gymnastics club at the age of 11, where I was still training at the elite level, doing national comps. And then at the age of 14, a chance encounter with a stunt coordinator led me to my first steps on a film set, which was the 1997 movie Lost in Space. It had Matt LeBlanc and Gary Oldman, and I got to hang around with the most famous man on the planet at the time, which was Matt LeBlanc. Obviously, he was in the midst of his Friends fame. That was a very pivotal moment in my youth, where I realised that my dream of being a gymnast and maybe going to the Olympics had now changed to becoming a professional stuntman. Then a couple of years later, I done another day's work on a film called Bedazzled. And on that day, the stunt coordinator again reached out and asked for my telephone number. He was the same stunt coordinator, Greg Powell, who's a stunt legend. The whole Powell family are stunt legends. And Greg said, I'm doing this film, Harry Potter, something and something. It's a kid's film, and I might need someone small that's got gymnastic ability like yourself. Can I take your phone number? I might give you a call in the next couple of months. I went back to college, got a phone call, and then he said, we've got to do this broomstick test. And then I went up to the film studios, Leavesden Studios in just North London. And they strapped me to a broomstick and drove that broomstick. It was attached to the back of a 6-wheel Dodge Ram, and they drove that down the runway at Leavesden Studios. Chris Columbus was looking at me down a camera lens, and unknowing to me, that was the first ever broomstick test, which made me the first Quidditch player in the world by default. And then we finished the rehearsal. Where the truck was driven up and down the road, I was on the broomstick, reaching for snitches, dodging quaffles, with Chris looking at me down the camera lens. Chris jumped off the back of the flatbed, pointed to Greg and said, "This is our guy." and that's how I secured my job for this lead stunt double for Harry on the Harry Potter movies.
Wow.
And 8 great, amazing years as a professional stuntman, not just on the Harry Potter movies, but many others. And then one fateful day, it all changed.
And when you first got the role, I think you said you were 17. Is that correct?
Yeah, 17, yeah.
Do you remember what the first day was like working on Harry Potter? I mean, I'm assuming at that time you knew the gravity and how big Harry Potter was from the books. And
Not really. The thing is, I thought Lost in Space was going to be a big movie. And the books were, it was the third book was just released, and I had read them before my first broomstick test, and obviously fell in love with Harry as we all did, and Hermione, Ron, and all the cast, and just thought it was an amazing thing to be a part of. But making a film, you just don't know whether it's going to be big or small. So I wasn't really like, oh, this is going to be massive. And then when we was just finishing the first Harry Potter, the fourth book was coming out. And that's when the Hogwarts Express was really left the train station because people were camped outside bookshops for 12, 15 hours overnight to get their hands on the first book. So, yeah, it's sort of the runaway Hogwarts Express. By the time that that book went out, we really knew that, okay, the first film's going to be pretty widely received. But my first day on the film set, outside of the stunt rehearsal on the broomstick, was actually when Harry, Ron, and Hermione get off the train and meet Hagrid. When the Hogwarts Express are bringing them to Hogwarts for the first time, and we as a crew were filming on location. And I walked onto this train station at Goathland train station up in the north of England, and I saw 200 kids. Then I was introduced to all of the main cast, the young cast, I should say. And then there was a guy sitting on the side in a full Hagrid costume, but there was he had a small head. And next to him, there was a Hagrid head, a Robbie Coltrane face, which was an animatronic face that was operated by puppeteers with a remote control, which changes all the expressions. That was then plonked onto who now I would call a friend, Martin Bayfield. Martin's head, and Martin, who was a big rugby player, 6'8", would play Hagrid in the big costume when we had the young cast next to him. So we had Robbie there that day, the late great Robbie Coltrane, but we also had Martin with Robbie's head next to him moving, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty impressive." So yeah, that was the first day's principal photography, the first shot of the film, and then we had another 3 to 4 weeks up in Newcastle where we were staying as a crew. We was shooting the first flying lesson scene with when Harry says up and catches the broomstick. So that was like the second bunch of filming that we did, which was on location. And then we all as a crew went back to the studios and embarked on the 9-month journey of principal photography, studio based. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
so, what kind of training or preparation would you do for a typical scene in Harry Potter?
It depends. Stunt work, we would do we would read the script. We would break it down to, okay, there needs to be a spell reaction here. Then we would go away and we'd film various spell reactions, whether that was just a quick wire pull backwards or a wire pull up into the air, sometimes with rotations in it. And then we would show that to the director saying, I like that one. And then we would just rehearse it until we know that we can do it multiple takes, and land at the perfect spot where the camera wants to see the landing. And then we would take it onto the stage on the actual principal photography part, and then we'd perform the stunt. But there was so much training involved because it wasn't just the rehearsing of the actual stunts, but as a gymnast, I was a coach. So I took Daniel under my wing and was his PE teacher, his physical education teacher. So 3 times a week, he would come into the stunt department and we would fly him around on trampolines, and I'd shut the stunt doors and let him be a kid, jumping off of port cabins and swinging a sword around and doing, fighting and boxing and judo throws and, keeping him fit. And it was all the stuff that an insurance company would have a heart attack over was the stuff that we did in the stunt department, and that laid the groundwork for me to not only understand the physical capabilities for Daniel, but also expand his capabilities and know what was safe for him to do with regards to stunt work. And then as the films grew on and he grew, our training continued, sometimes getting more intense depending on what we was having to do. And he works really closely with us as a stunt department. And he's one of my best friends. I speak to him on a regular, and you lot got to watch him grow up on camera. I get to watch him grow as a man in the world, and I couldn't be proud of the person he is.
I remember in the documentary too, I was watching, and there was the scene where he was trying. I think he's called a beater when you try to hit that thing, but he was a little uncoordinated trying to hit it.
I think it's well documented that he has had to navigate dyspraxia, which is the lack of coordination with your body. Sometimes, leading to just clumsiness or whatever. And that was the first time we witnessed that when we was asking him to hit a bat and ball. He wasn't particularly sporty as a child. And then that was it. From that moment, we set to work at improving him as an individual. And now when I see his physicality and I see him, what he does in films and on stage, I'm very proud that I had a little bit to contribute towards that.
Is there a particular scene or a stunt that sticks out to you that you're proud of?
God, there's loads. Well, I wasn't just Harry that I did stunts for. I did stunts for Harry, Ron, Hermione, Malfoy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you pause the first film when Ron is on the back of the horse and they're playing the Wizard's Chess, that's me coming off the back of the horse when Ron sacrifices himself. If you see the Malfoy and Harry duel on the dueling sequence on the second one, Chamber of Secrets, that's me spinning away as Malfoy. It's also me coming off my broomstick in the Quidditch match as Malfoy. If you see further down the films, Harry getting pulled back by Snape when he asks him to fight back, you coward, after Snape's just, sacrificed Voldemort. Not Voldemort, Dumbledore, that's myself. I'm the Harry in the night bus as it drives through central London. Yeah, I'm like, where's Wally in those films? I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm even the Hermione lying on the floor as the bathroom stalls are smashed through.
By the troll?
Yeah, when the troll in the bathroom. So
Okay.
that I was a Quidditch player myself for the Slytherin team on the first two films and film number 5 and 6.
One thing I wanted to bring up too, just like the characteristics of someone who's a stunt double, are they usually more rebellious? Are they kind of misfits? Like, what is the culture of being a stunt double?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it brings all shapes and sizes. But generally, we are a bunch of people that are willing to pay the ultimate price for the art of storytelling. We put our bodies on the line to contribute towards people sitting in theatre seats going, wow, that was cool. We still don't get, BAFTAs or anything, and we're the unsung heroes of the film industry. Yeah, you've only got to watch a movie trailer to see that stunts contribute quite a considerable amount to the filmmaking process. So we are artists at the end of the day. We're just artists that use our physicality and our daring to tell a story. So yeah, it's to define one specific characteristic for all of us is, yeah, of course we're brave. We would be rebellious against the system. I say the system. We would be slightly rebellious against the ones that love us because they would be worried for us with the risks that we take. But also, it's always a calculated risk. You'll find the best stunt performers are really clever because they're having to make the impossible happen, making the impossible possible. Like we are given a prompt and then we have to look at it and try and work out how we're going to achieve that thing, which is, you know, cheating it for a camera or actually doing it for real, whatever it is, we've got to do it and we've got to be able to do it more than once. Because there's no point just being cannon fodder and getting smashed up and then not being able to do another take again. You need to do multiple takes of the same stunt. So we need to make the dangerous safe.
And then, as you brought up, one thing you have in common is that you guys are willing to pay that ultimate price. Can you kind of take us through what happened with your injury for the people that are kind of new to this?
Yeah, so I was rehearsing Harry battling at the Snake Nagini on Harry Potter 7 chapter part 1. So I say chapter 1, yeah, part 1. And we were doing stunt rehearsals at the beginning of Harry Potter 7. I'd done a stunt rehearsal the day before, and a few things were changed in my distance of travel and the setup of the rig and the weights that were putting me. And unfortunately, I went into a wall through no fault of my own at an unbelievable velocity. My chest folded into my nose, and I got a dislocation of the spinal cord and landed paralyzed. And that was it. Into hospital straight away, and then a big spinal surgery, and then 6 months of intense rehabilitation in hospital, learning to live a new life without the physical being that I was before. Yeah, and it's like the trauma, the initial trauma, and then the actual emotional trauma. It takes a very long time, and it's something that you never get over. You just learn to get on with. And I would say I'm a testament to the saying, "It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog."
Hmm.
Because now I know I have a platform because of my connection to the past stories, and I have an outlook in my life that's important to share. I'm very lucky. I've got a lot of friends and family that support me. And there's some people that live with spinal cord injuries or disabilities that don't have that. Same as, the means to pay for my very expensive cost of living because I have to have 24-hour care. And all of these things that I would say I'm privileged to have with regards to navigating the world with a disability. So I believe it's my job to raise awareness, to remind yourself, Doug, and everyone out there, whether you like it or not, you will be disabled at one point in your life because age and time are cruel things. So if you can see me as the human being past my disability, then maybe when you have to navigate some sort of physical hardship or with your parents, you'll be able to see yourself and themselves as a human being, not just a human suffering.
I appreciate that. And, with the injury, did you know right away when it happened that something was pretty bad?
Yep, I've broken enough bones as a stunt performer and a gymnast to know what a broken bone felt like, and it felt like that from my neck down all over my body. So yeah, I knew instantly. I had first had to regain breath, and then I had to do the assessment of my body, and then after the quick assessment, I knew straight away. Called out to the stunt coordinator and my friends, the other stunt performers around me, and yeah, ambulance was called and the journey was on. You know what I mean? But like all journeys in life, a human experience, a proper human experience, has got joy, love, laughter, pain, and suffering in it. And I have had a lot of all of those things.
You've been incredibly open about your journey. Was there, I know just watching the documentary and reading some of the book, I think at a certain point you weren't sure if you wanted to do it or come out and say it. At what point did that change?
I had to be, well, I'll tell you what it was. In 2019, I went for a bout of surgeries that nearly killed me. So before I went for those surgeries, I made a little 14-minute video just taking clips from the film saying, that's me, this is my contribution to those films. So that if I did pass away in those surgeries, then at least my family had something to show the world, my contribution to those films. Um, I survived the surgeries, barely, very, very close. And then I showed that little video to Daniel Radcliffe, and I showed it to my friend, the director Dan Hartley, and my other friend, the producer Amy Stairs, and they were like, "We would like to tell this story." And then they had to sort of convince me a little bit that it was a story worth telling, and that there is something out there and a gift that I can give the world. Not just the gift of my performances on Potter, but the gift of sharing my journey with navigating the immense changes that I've had to deal with in my life. So, told that story with a documentary. It was nominated for BAFTA, 3 Emmys, and I mean, I haven't seen it. No, yeah, because there's a day in my life that I'll get into bed and I won't get out of it. And that'll be the time that I get to watch a very polished, very well produced, very well crafted HBO documentary, looking back on myself with the hope and optimism that I live with to this day. So it's there when I need it, but right now I have a very important job to do, which is create awareness, try and make the world a little better of a place, and yeah, keep spreading love and joy because we know that the world needs that right now.
Well, I've watched it twice, and I really appreciate that you guys made it because I really did find it inspiring and I got something out of it. So I really, really appreciate you guys making that. You got the friendship with Daniel Radcliffe. He was also a producer then on this documentary.
Yeah,
How has that relationship evolved over the years and since your injury?
it's just, I mean, we've gone on holidays together. I've seen him on stage in Broadway. We've always been close. Even though he lives in New York, we do FaceTimes once a week, once every couple of weeks, depending on his schedule. We always leave each other voice notes. I, for his birthday, make him playlists and stuff like that. You know, what do you get the guy that can get whatever he wants? I make him playlists. I go, these are the new music that I'm discovering, and he sends me some back. And it's just a really nice, great friendship. I'm very lucky to have him in my life. I'm very, very proud of him. He's a very good human being. And not many child actors go through that sort of pressure as a youngster and
Yeah.
come out the other side. And now seeing him as a father, I couldn't be prouder of him. It's a joy to see what he's able to have with his partner and his child in his life. It's a really lovely thing.
That is the one thing I always got from him and watching your documentaries. He always had a good head on his shoulders. He seemed to understand, how to stay humble. Even though he's working on the biggest movies in the world, it's like he always seemed like he was aware of it.
And not only that, he knows that um, he can make someone's day just by being nice.
Yeah.
And what a gift that is. And he doesn't take it lightly. Obviously, sometimes, he might be navigating a really busy situation. He hasn't got time to stop for a photograph. But generally, I mean, when he comes and stays here, he goes for a coffee up the top of the road. He'll bump into some random residents, and I'll see something on the local Facebook group or whatever, and it'd be like, "Oh my God, I just met Daniel Radcliffe," and he was so nice, and he carries himself really well, and that's a testament to his parents and his friends, and just the way he is as an individual. He knows that it's like his Broadway show that run recently. He knew that if he signed for another 3 months, he could keep, you know, 50 people still working, despite getting to the end of his original contract. He extended his contract to the detriment of his health and his time with his family, but it kept other people employed. And that's the kind of person he is.
I want to touch on too in the documentary in your book. There's a couple people that you highlight. Is it Mark Malley? Maley?
Mark Maley, yeah. Mark is a very successful stunt coordinator and second unit director now. And he was a carpenter, and he's one of my best friends. I spoke to him last night. He's actually just started the new Highlander movie as a stunt coordinator. And he's just finished Cliffhanger 2 out in the Alps last year. He did, if you watched Andor, he was the stunt coordinator of 2 seasons of Andor. He's done the most recent Black Mirror. He's very proud of him, like Dan. You know, he's been able to He was a chippy, a carpenter when I met him, and I knew he was a very talented, very gifted individual after teaching him a bit of gymnastics. So I convinced him to come with me and follow me into the stunt industry. So I have Mark, and then I have Tom. We don't work together anymore, but I've been very fortunate to have had 15 years with one of my best friends looking after me. We helped me travel the world and see some amazing places and stuff that I wouldn't think was achievable for me post injury. You know, when I was in hospital trying to rediscover what it was to be a man again.
And you knew him before the Potter films,
Yeah, no, before, way before the Harry Potter films.
so grew up with him.
Yeah, friend from my local area. So yeah, I even though we don't work together anymore, we still had 15 great years together. So yeah, like not many people can say that they got to spend that much time in the trusted care of someone that you've gone with so well.
You know, you have the HBO documentary and you have the book. What made you also decide to write the book, or I guess which one came first? And I'm actually listening to it on Audible right now, and you do a great job reading it. So I really enjoy it so far.
Yeah, so the book, as soon as we got HBO or Lightbox, the co-production company on board, and Lightbox are famous for a couple of Oscar-winning documentaries. I mean, Searching for Sugar Man, Man on a Wire. As soon as we signed with Lightbox, I was like, okay, there might be potential to maybe, tell my story from my version that's not so sterilized for the Harry Potter HBO audience, which rightly so, it's got to be family friendly, because of the my attached like connection to the Potter films. But by me writing the book, I got to really tell my story from me unedited, and it was hard, really, really, really hard to write my book, which reminds me to not watch the documentary yet because it was very emotionally grueling. And I'm sure when you get to the second half of the book and you hear me talking about my life post accident, the actual accident itself, and then some of the mistakes I made whilst trying to understand what it is to be me after I, lost everything that I'd identified with, which was my physical capability. Yeah, it was a journey. Writing was definitely way harder than the documentary, but it's a very cathartic process. And like all art, it belongs to the audience now. It doesn't belong to me. Like my stunts belong to the Potter fans, and now my book belongs to the people that are connecting with it.
I think for the people listening to that have maybe watched the documentary, there's also, would you say there's more in the book?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you give us some hints on that of what's in there that you might not catch in the movie?
I mean, there's quite a few stories of sex, drugs, and sausage rolls. There is quite a few stories of mishaps. I mean, I got arrested in Amsterdam. I told that story. I blew lots of money in Ibiza partying, taking all sorts of mind-altering substances to try and numb the internal trauma of, what is it to be me and a man. I talk about what it's like to break your neck, what it actually feels like, and then what it's like to make a sense of your life after 16 years of that journey, or 15 years when I was writing it, of that journey post injury. Like I realizing that art is the best of who we are as human beings. And if I try and see my life as art in every way, whether that is noticing how the light is on a grey day in England and, catching a sunset, or making lovely plants in the background and dressing my house so it looks like it's staged. Um, yeah, or just the way I try and talk and connect with human beings. Because that really, unless you're creating something in this world, you're taking something, and we're all taking something, aren't we? We're right now discussing, the gift of being able to create whilst connecting through devices that no doubt come with some unbelievable environmental and human suffering behind them. So, if you can be mindful that there's always that dichotomy of being a privileged person that can create, but understanding that privilege at the same time.
I love that. But what would you say is something that you've learned about yourself that you didn't necessarily expect to learn?
Someone asked me recently what am I most proud of, and I say it's probably that I broke my neck and I stayed who I always am.
Mm-hmm.
I never changed. You know what I mean? But there's a Zach Bryan poem, and one of the lines is, "I pray that I get through hard things, and it will make me gentle to the ways of the world." And I definitely feel that I've, have a hard life. There's no denying that. With my level of injury and with the changing neurology that I'm suffering. But it does make me gentle to the ways of the world. Makes me more empathetic, more understanding, makes me more emotionally intelligent, and it makes me more compassionate. Yeah, so I think like gratitude is the best attitude. I try and practice being grateful every day in whatever way I can. So grateful for your platform today to try and spread the same word. I'm grateful to be able to sit in my wheelchair when I've spent 1 year of the last 16 in bed. So yeah, I try and find that dark cloud and always look for the silver lining. Always look for the light.
You mentioned too about staying present, and I think that's what you're kind of commenting on, is just appreciating now and not worrying about the past or the future, but actually trying to stay present, what you can appreciate right now.
Yeah, it forces me to be present. You know what I mean? Like, while we all live in a world of noise, I have to, like, or if, like, my body forces me to prioritize what I choose to listen to, in myself, in my own mindset, and then in the wider world. Like, pain and suffering is inevitable for all of us. But no, so pain is inevitable for all of us, whether that's physical or emotional. But suffering, I like to think it's a bit of a mindset. I think you can choose. You can choose to make friends with your pain, or you can choose to suffer from it. I make friends with mine every day.
I was going to ask too, is there anything specifically that you're working on right now? Is it promoting and trying to get people to see your stories through the book and the movie? Or is there other stuff that you're working on? What are you doing right now?
Do public speaking. I to obviously try and raise the platform for people living with a disability in today's society. I remind everyone that it can affect you at any stage. Like in the UK alone, 4,400 people get diagnosed with a spinal cord injury each year. So you can multiply that 5 times over for the US. And that's why to survive living with a spinal cord injury in society, it needs politicians to actually care. It needs infrastructure. It needs investment. It needs people leading their decisions with compassion, and understanding. So I always try and raise and project that I'm not a victim of being my disability. I'm a victor. I still live a very fulfilling, wonderful life. I have a great partner, a really great human connection. I've still got my 2 dogs, and like I'm always creating in one way or another. So I'm halfway through a kid's book right now about teenage stunt double, and I'm hoping that gets picked up. I've just been speaking to Audible, and they might be commissioning me about writing a story around 2 disabled adults connecting, and falling in love, which mirrors my own relationship. And there's a very secret project that I can't talk about right yet. But let's just say I am back in the wizarding world in some way or another.
Okay, you just reminded me of something I was going to ask you about, the new HBO series, Harry Potter. What are your thoughts on that? As someone that was previously in the franchise, what do you think about that?
I wish them all the best with it. They've got some very big boots to try and fill. You know what I mean? Like, they're such a film, so well rounded, so well told. I wish that the audiences give the young cast and the older cast time to breathe into and settle into the roles. Don't be so quick to judge. I'm worried that they're rolling the dice on three young children in the age of social media. And I would
Hmm.
ask anybody that's listening to this that's a fan and that feel like just think about being a teenager and all of that angst that you have to live with. And then apply that pressure with, trying to follow on from those films and tell those stories again. But if it makes a new generation discover those stories in a different way, yeah, I wish them all the best. I know that the stunt coordinator is a friend of mine, so the young cast will be well looked after. I know the producer's a friend of mine, who is David Heyman, who produced the original films. So I know that the right people are in place for it to work. We just now need to ask the audience to allow it to settle, allow it to work, allow it to take its time. It's like, the Ring of Power series on Amazon Prime. The Lord of the Rings, one of the greatest trios of films of all
I
time.
love that series so far.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really good. And yeah, it's going to be a new way to tell those stories. And one thing's for sure, we should never underestimate the power of Potter and what it means to a generation of people that are now rediscovering those films with their kids, and what it will mean for their kids when they rediscover with the new TV series. Yeah, I'm always very, very proud to be connected to the story of Harry, its creator Joe, my best friend Dan, and all the other young cast and how they've handled themselves post Potter world. And I know that Harry Potter means a lot to a lot of people. There are kids right now watching those films in conflict zones all around the world on phones. It's making them feel safe and giving them hope. And my stunts in those films are doing just that. So I'm very grateful to be a part of it.
Are you in any way connected to the new series?
No, no. Just in communication with, friends that are working on it.
Okay.
But no, not involved in it whatsoever. But I am doing something that's in and around the world, but it's not something that I can publicly talk about yet.
Okay. Um, and then to start wrapping this up, I got a few kind of fun questions coming up. But with all that said now, what do you hope your legacy will be in film and life and storytelling, just overall? What do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy is a tough thing, really. I mean, someone asked this to Mike Tyson. He's like, "What do I care? I'll be dead," But my legacy will be to project um, the all the best things about the character Harry in around the subject of disability. To say that, regardless of it being hard or the challenges of navigating society with a disability, never give up, always hold on to hope, lean into your friends and your loved ones, embrace fear and, march into it, and just try and be giving something to the world instead of, say, taking something to the world. And I hope the gift of my story after I'm dead will still be told and people will still be connected with it. And they will see that I try and live up to the very high expectations of being connected to those films.
Perfect. All right. Just for a little fun now, what was your favorite Harry Potter film? I'm going to ask you your favorite Harry Potter film and also your favorite to work on.
Ah, you see, okay, to watch the HP3. Yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Azkaban?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
exceptional. Yeah, like Alfonso's a genius, and the way he turned to those stories from the safe kid space that they were in the first two, and like Chris Columbus is a friend of mine, and the foundation that he laid on the first two is unbelievable, and yeah, so very hard for a director to come in behind that and mix it up. But Alfonso absolutely did that, and he executed it really well. And the best to work on was HP4 with the Tri-Wizard tournament. 4 months underwater in Europe's largest underwater stage. Working off a scuba bottle, holding my breath, doing shots for 3 minutes at a time while swimming. All of the starting off the film and running with Robert Patterson, chasing a rickshaw with a camera on it through the hedgerows. The big stunt that never made it to the film in the graveyard at the end, and just how much action was in that movie. It was a stuntman's dream.
That was Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of want to do your Mount Rushmore of movies since you're kind of a movie buff. Why don't you give me four of your favorite movies of all time?
That's so hard to do. I'd say, I mean, I just watched Zone of Interest recently.
Sound of Interest?
Zone of Interest.
Okay.
You have to be emotionally available for it because touches on the horrific slaughter of the World War II and the Auschwitz situation. But it was just so well told as a film. But my Mount Rushmore, I think The Fifth Element's a great film. I
Bruce
think,
Willis.
yeah, that's a really good film. I think anything by Tarantino is obviously amazing. Scorsese, I watched The Departed recently. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
good. The Godfather's just amazing. I like films that are given their time to breathe. That the actors get their time to not rush through, and not that in the short attention span films that we get nowadays, where it's shot, 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 shot. I like action sequences to be one long take. So I really enjoyed the new June 2. I thought that was really good.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, the second one, brilliant. Yeah.
So wait, you got Fifth Element and Dune 2? Is that
Yeah, I'd
okay?
say yeah, they're up there for. It's so hard. The original Star Wars, the Godfathers. There's just too many, and that's the gift of being alive to this day.
Yeah,
It, you can always be swapping the movie for one of the different presidents up on that mountain. So we are very fortunate to be living in a time where great directors and great storytellers are delivering through the medium of film, TV, books. They're delivering us lots of gifts. So
for sure.
if only they set up their business model so they actually pay the artists better,
Yeah.
instead of giving it all away for free on a streaming service. But yeah, that's just capitalism for you.
Yeah. All right. So the other two are up in the air because there's so many good ones that we could kind of fill them in.
I like Once Upon a Time in America, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because stuntman, you know what I mean? Brad Pitt plays a stuntman, what's not to like? Uh, Jackie Chan, Rumble in the Bronx, pretty special for an action sequence. If you've seen The Raid, RAID, that's an amazing film, Korean action film. The Raid and The Raid 2 is like that's a hard hit.
Raid and Raid 2?
Yeah, Raid.
I haven't seen it.
RAID. You'll thank me after recommendation. There's a Thai film called Ong Bak, Ongbak. Yeah, and the second one is called Tom Yong Gun. That's really good. There's a German film called The Lives of Others. That's exceptional. Yeah, Parasite was really good.
What about any Tom Cruise movies as far as stunts go?
Like, he's the most well-rounded action star that cinema has seen to this day.
Kind of sets the standard.
Yeah, big time. And I know all the people that get to work with him, and I've met him a couple of times. And he's very intense, but knows how everyone's job on a film set and can execute filmmaking to the highest level. So it deserves his flowers for sure.
And then last thing I was going to say is I noticed, I think at the last Academy Awards, they're now starting to recognize stunt doubles and stunt performances. What are your thoughts on that?
Too late, too little, too late. Should have been 15 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. We should have been recognized for our art in the early stages of cinema when Buster Keaton was taking all those risks for audiences sitting on theatre seats. So it's too late, but better now than never. It's going to be quite hard to define it because there's so many different departments that work with a stunt department. You know, you've got stunt wire riggers, you've got stunt drivers, you've got action vehicles, you've got, there's so many different people, but they're all brought together under the banner of a stunt coordinator. So I would say that the award should be called Best Stunt Ensemble, and then the stunt coordinator should be the one that collects it if they
Right.
get it. Yeah.
Well, perfect, man. I appreciate you so much for coming on here. I'm such a big fan of the movies, not only Harry Potter, but your movies specifically with The Boy Who Lived and the book. I think a lot of people get a lot out of it, so I'm really happy you did it.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate you. And yeah, to everyone listening to it and yourself, I hope life is kind to you and everyone you love.
All right, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Doug. So, Debbie, I'm going to swear, but shit, I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. You're going to be swimming in an ocean of, deep trenches of pain, sorrow, worry, and all of those things. But don't be afraid to ask for help. You've got people that love you. You've got a son that asked for this message from me, and if my journey's taught me anything, is that nothing's set in stone. Like hope is the first thing you should look for, and the last thing you should let go of. You are in an American healthcare system, which is the best in the world for what you're about to navigate, I'm sure. So, yeah, whatever it is, embrace the suck because it's going to suck. But just hold on that there are good days on your horizon. Just keep swimming. Yeah, your shoreline is there in the end, but the ocean's deep underneath you. But just keep swimming because that's all you can do. So give yourself a break. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Forgive yourself for finding it hard. It's hard. But you only really living when you're nearly dying. And now you're being touched on that journey. So I hope that because of it, you will really see the day for the day. You'll really see the sun for the sun and the light for what it is. You'll connect to nature, you'll connect to loved ones, and yeah, I wish you all the best, my friend. Debbie, hold on, you got this. I have every faith that lovely Doug and your family will be there for you. And after the conversation I've just had with Doug, he's from good stock, so I know you raised your boy well. So it means you're going to do all right.